Welcome. Welcome to this second program of piano music, and I'm so glad to be offered the opportunity to share some more of my favorites with you today. I begin with Bach, and I have two preludes from his two books of 48 preludes and fugues from the first book. One in F minor, and then the second I'm playing is in G sharp minor. And yes, the minor key can be melancholy, but actually I find these pieces rather soothing. I think the best way I can express it is they seem to take us into a different time, not everyday time. Also, I love the fact that the hands are in dialogue with each other, something I know because Bach taught his sons, and three of his sons became composers of repute. So Johann Sebastian Bach, the author of the 48 Preludes and Fugues, taught his sons, and the composer's sons must have absorbed from him so much. So Emanuel Bach, his second son, in his keyboard treatise, The True Art of Playing the Keyboard, said you should treat the right hand and left hand as equal partners. And actually, it's not just two hands in dialogue. It's as if there are four voices, a soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So the ideas from the opening are constantly being rethought and reprogrammed in different parts of the keyboard, as if you've got these four voices all exchanging them. So first, the F minor prelude. Prelude in G sharp minor. Next, I turn to Chopin, and I have, yes, there were, if you were at the first concert I did, there were 3 pieces programmed by Chopin, and after I played the first, I was so excited at playing a concert again after months of not doing that I forgot about the other 2. So I played the first one and the other 2 never happened, but they will today, and I've prefaced them with, I'm prefacing them with a different first one. So it's 2 mazurkas and a waltz. And the first mazurka is in A minor again, but it's a different A minor one from last time, is fairly lively, but there's a sense of restfulness as well in the middle section, which is in the major key. So it's a minor key, A minor, and then A major middle section. So it's this symmetrical form he was fond of in these short pieces, with 2, the first section coming back as the last section, and in between this major key episode. And the same is true of the next mazurka I'll play, the C sharp minor. Both those dance pieces, and these and the waltz, are obviously imbued with the spirit of the dance. And in the C sharp minor one, the second mazurka, there's also the sense of a folk instrument with the drone effect at the beginning in the introductory bars that was often also a feature of his dance music. So Polish, the mazur, the Polish dance, he'd left Poland in 1830. These pieces, these 2 mazurkas, date from 1830 to 1831. So after leaving Poland in 1830, he settled in Paris in 1831 and never returned to his homeland. So as I was saying last time, we feel the nostalgia that these express. I'll say a little about the waltz before I play it. and the second mazurka. The Waltz is a later work, opus 70, number 3, and was only published posthumously. It's in D flat major, but the major key here is tinged with minor. It's actually very intricately woven, this waltz, the texture, and that's typical for Chopin. Of course, he's tuneful, and there are these pa accompaniments and so on, but he's been called a very contrapuntal composer as well. And so we're having to deal with quite an intricately woven fabric, as well as the basic dance model of the tune and the pa. The mood for me, again, this is how I would express it, the best I can do to pin down what I feel about it, is that the tinges that I mentioned, these minor aspects that he puts into the major key, make it slightly melancholy, but it's as if somebody's saying, this isn't the last piece I'm going to be playing, by the way, but it's as if somebody's saying, oh, it's been lovely, really lovely, but I've got to go now. It's partly to do with the falling figures towards the end of, so the first section that comes back after a middle, an episode in the middle, it's got these falling figures at the end, and there's a lot to be said for the perhaps fairly obvious point that rising figures in music tend to sound on the up and falling figures tend to sound rather less so. So perhaps it is, again, a nostalgia for something that he's had to leave. So my next composer, Clara Schumann, in the early years of her marriage to Robert Schumann, they studied together Bach's 48 Preludes and Fugues of his well-tempered clavier. And she wrote in her diary, we finished studying the first book and I'm ready to go on to the second, but Robert needs a rest. So she published her Opus 16. Did I say this was in the 1840s? Yes, in the early years of their marriage. She published her Opus 16, and Robert was very keen for her to publish her music and encouraged it. And there are 3 Preludes and Fugues, and I'm playing Opus 16, number 1 in G minor, the Preludium 1, which is homage to Bach, but expressed in Clara Schumann's voice. It's a very contemplative piece. And then we'll end with a couple of evening pieces from my Jewish piano book. But first, Clara Schumann. And now to the ultimate Jewish piano book, which, as I explained last time, arose. I wouldn't have possessed it had it not been for our son's plans. So when he was in yeshiva in New York and we went to the Jewish bookshop and they had music as well, here's what I came out with. So my 2 evening pieces, Erev Shel Shoshanim, Fragrant with Roses and Spices, and Erev Bar, the flocks on the move, the bells ringing, the evening shadows. So right for the time of day. Erev Shel Shoshanim. ends with "Erefa, evening comes." And it does indeed. Thank you so much for giving up part of your afternoon to listen to my efforts. And as this is only the second concert I've done in 10 months, it's again been really exciting for me to do. I wish you a Shavua Tov, a good Vach, and hope we'll meet again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.